What is up, everybody? Welcome to Sports Investing 101, new series, episode 1. Mom, Dad, if you guys are tuning in, I don't know if you guys tune into my stuff a lot. That'd be kind of fucked up if you didn't. But Mom and Dad, if you are tuning in, this is definitely a piece of content that I'm uploading to the internet that you're definitely not going to want to watch. So I suggest you go up and you hit the X button and you don't come back to this video. Not because I'm doing anything immoral or I'm going to be an absolute jerk and embarrass myself. No. It's just I'm about to be probably what you would consider irresponsible with my money. I don't think I'm doing that. But yeah, we're going to go through every single game. We're going to place a lot of bets here. Let me lay down the lay of the land, okay? Let me set the scene. Last weekend, well, the past 2 weekends, I'm not going to disclose how much money I make. I get paid bi-weekly. I got paid Wednesday, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. I get paid bi-weekly, and we were kind of really close. I went to my cousin's wedding, missed out 5 days of work. Great time at the wedding, so worth it. Megan, Mike, you guys looked amazing. It was awesome. Missed 5 days of work, though. Came back, worked, whatever. But we were stretching out my last paycheck is my point. I was very close on the rent money. Very, very close. Rent was due Monday or Tuesday, not really sure. But there was an NFL Sunday. I may have put half of my bank account into DraftKings. Yeah. So fast forward to Monday. Monday, I was thinking, okay, I have a few options here. I could beg my friends for money, or I could ask my boss for an advance on the paycheck, which I'm sure he'd love to give to me because he's a great guy. I love my boss, great people. But it's just like that's kind of an embarrassing thing to ask your boss, especially when you have the relationship that we do. I knew he'd give me shit for it, rightfully so. Complete degeneracy on my end. Or I could ask my friend. So I jokingly sent a chat into the group chat. We'll call Lawnmower, firesportstakes.com. Go read my most recent blog I wrote about my friend Lawnmower. He's making an appearance. Great friend Lawnmower is, let me tell you, great friend. They were talking shit, normal group chat stuff. We were all talking shit, and I think I go, hey guys, I am X amount of dollars short of my rent money. It's due tomorrow. And within 30 minutes, Lawnmower and my other boy, we'll call him Degenerate. Lawnmower and Degenerate both sent me X amount of dollars, helping me to pay my rent until I got paid on Wednesday. I Venmoed them already. We're all good. Nice and easy. But my point is, that was last weekend. That was last NFL Sunday. And although you might think, Devin, why are you not going to learn from your mistakes? Like, you had to ask your friends for rent money. You almost had to ask your boss for an advance on a paycheck because you gambled away half of your bank account. No, I didn't lose half my bank account. Let me rephrase. I put in half of my bank account. I lost X amount of dollars, making me be X amount of dollars short on my rent payment. It wasn't a lot, I had it handled. Didn't want to deal with the late fees from the apartment building from the apartment building that I rent from. Didn't want to deal with any late fees, anything like that. So my boys helped me out. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, you're gonna be like, Devin, why are you back here, putting in a lot of money, more than you should be, to gamble on NFL? And my answer to you is simple. I am a firm believer that you can do anything you put your mind to on this planet. Anything. And if you work hard enough and you do something for long enough, you will be successful at it. Why is that not the same for gambling? And I've already learned. I've been gambling since I was 17 years old on sports. And I've lost a lot of money. But I don't look at it as losses. I look at it as learning opportunities, chances to learn. And here are a bunch of things that I have learned. 1, do not touch a parlay. For every ounce of my soul, do not touch a parlay. That's rule number 1 of Sports Investing 101. Do not touch a parlay. Now, if you'll pay attention to my DraftKings, to the DraftKings screen here, that's been up for 4 minutes now as I've been rambling. There's another part. There's a few parts of this website that you don't touch. You don't touch if you want to be a successful gambler. I'm not there yet. This is just me telling you guys what I have learned in my 4 years of gambling experience. And I am by no means the greatest gambler, but I think I'm getting a system down that can be kind of effective here. Rule number 1, don't place parlays. Rule number 2, you go over here, you see my mouse here. You go over here to this little thing called the casino. Stay the fuck away from the online casino. Thank you. Even if you're going to play live dealer blackjack, which is the only thing you should be touching. No, don't touch. Don't touch the casino. Do not touch the casino. But even if you're going to play, I'm playing live dealer blackjack. They can't rig it. Listen to me. You should only play blackjack if there's an actual deck, because those shoots, I don't know. I listened to that guy with the black hands on TikTok, and he said, don't play those types of tables. You need to play tables with dealers. That guy, I forget his name, Ricky whatever. Something. Black hands. He's always flexing about how good of a gambler he is, how he's banned from all these casinos. He says don't go to those. That's the same thing with the online live blackjack tables on the casino app. On all these sports books, they have the shoots. It's not a deck. Don't play tables with the shoots. That's what I've learned. Number 2, this little fucking trickery. This little trick right here. The promo section. I don't care what sports book you use. This promo section is absolute bullshit. Do not touch promos. Do not touch promos unless, there's obviously some, like you can sprinkle. But do not touch promos. Like, let's see what do we have here. Touchdown score, stepped up parlay. A stepped up parlay means that every leg you bet, it'll juice up the odds. They want to get you to bet as many legs as possible so it doesn't hit. Boom. And if you have the discipline to do a 2-legger, good for you. 2-leg parlays don't hit sometimes. So don't touch these. 50% parlay boost. What's the catch? It has to be on a 4-leg NFL parlay. And I'm sure the odds can't be less than like minus 500. Scam. Absolute scam. Like, these are just, don't touch any of them. Don't touch any. Or they'll give you a free bet. Forget your no sweat $10 bet until you lose it twice. How many times have you done that? You use your no sweat bet, you lose it again. You lose the first time, you get your no sweat token, you redeem it, you throw your $10 you just flushed down the toilet last night, you throw it on another bet on Monday Night Football after you lost it on Sunday Night Football and it doesn't hit. Boom, now you're down $20. That's how they get you. Rule number 3. So rule number 1, don't touch the casino. No, rule number 1, no parlays. Rule number 2, don't touch the casino. Rule number 3, don't fucking look at the promos, even though some of them are juicy. Now, you can modify these rules a little bit, okay? Like, I've read that you're only supposed to gamble about 10% of your bankroll. I dabble on the 50-60%, but 10% is the smart number. And if you're betting 10% of your bankroll, say that's like $25 units. That's what I do. If you have like $50, $25 unit bets placed, then you can throw in a little $5 lay, $10 lay, $1 lay, a couple sprinkles here and there. But if you actually want to be profitable in the sports gambling, sports investing industry, fuck a parlay. Now, let's talk about these bets for week 1, shall we? Okay, I realized that was a lot of rambling. Let's get down to the brass tacks here. And that is our picks for week 1. I keep my unit size the same. $25. If I like something, I'll do 2 units on it. If I really like something, I'll do a max play, which I don't know what that unit size is. It's a lot. I don't like anything that much as of right now, as I'm recording this. That might change by the time the recording ends. But let's start with Jets, Vikings. I don't like betting games where my team is playing in. That being said, the Jets' run defense has been atrocious. Now, there's a few things I look for before I go any farther. There's a few things I look for when I'm placing my bets. I like to load up Pro Football Reference, NFL. You can see the 2024 NFL opposition and defensive statistics. This is how I see how good teams are doing against certain things, and I can look for certain areas in player props to exploit teams' weaknesses and exploit teams' strengths. So, for example, in this Jets-Vikings game, the Jets are allowing pretty piss-poor rushing statistics. At least I thought they're allowing 4.6 yards a carry. That's not crazy, but let's see. Total rushing yards allowed, they're 13th. That's not as bad as I thought it was. So here's a perfect example. You think one thing's gonna be. You think the Jets have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL because what you've watched with your 2 eyes, it hasn't looked good. Turns out they're not even a bottom 10 run defense in the league. Although like 4.5 yards a carry isn't a lot. I was pretty sold, if we come back here, to Aaron Jones over 63.5 rushing yards. That's not a low total. I see. So here, learning moment right here. Not the lowest of totals. The Jets don't have as bad of a run defense as I thought they did. Over 16.5, not completely comfortable. You know what you do? Hit the fucking X button. That's a skill that you need to develop if you want to be a successful gambler. That is really a skill. Hit the X button. If you see something with your eyes that contradicts why you're taking a pick, have some discipline, have some balls, be a man, hit the X button, don't place a bet just to place a bet. And now if you follow me on Fire Sports Takes, which you should if you're watching this for the first time, Fire Sports Takes on Instagram, Fire Sports Takes on TikTok, not only do I give out bets and good takes, great takes, I hold accountability when my takes are wrong. I have to get my hair dyed because I said if Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't go over his receiving total last Sunday against the Washington Commanders, then I will get my hair dyed. Accountability, rule number 1 of Fire Sports Takes, hold yourself accountable. That's what we do. So go follow those. I'm logged in. We'll throw our first bet of the weekend slate. George Pickens over 22.5 longest reception. That's another thing I like a lot. I go to this app, NFL Fantasy wide receiver rankings. You can look at ADOT. You can look at average depth of route ran, average depth of target. Those are things that you love to look for. You need to look for when you're going through certain player props to go through throughout when you're placing your bets. Now, while I'm thinking of player props, there's another bet that I like a lot, and that is in the Commanders-Browns game. Amari Cooper over 49.5 receiving yards. Thank you very much. Lock that in. That's a hammer. That's a lock. That's almost a 2-unit play. I'm not going to do that. We're going to stick with our unit. I don't like anything enough. I don't have the bankroll enough to be pushing these 2-unit plays. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to add to that bankroll so we can place those 2-unit plays. Amari Cooper against this Commanders secondary. This Commanders secondary absolutely stinks. I have the number written down here. I think Amari Cooper has like 30-something targets. If we go over to this fantasyfootballpros.com. Okay, so if we go to fantasyfootballpros.com, we can go to wide receivers, reception judge. We can see which guys are getting the most targets. And lo and behold, there's Amari Cooper with 37 targets. That is a 25% target share. That's just ridiculously high. But he's only caught 16 balls. Now, he's playing one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. He had an 85-yard catch for a touchdown, wiped off the board by a holding call. This Commanders offense has been absolutely electric. The only thing that concerns me is if I go here to the QB and I go to average air yards per attempt, I have a feeling we're not going to see Deshaun Watson anywhere high up here. Yeah, like that's bad. That concerns me a little. But my strategy coming into this season was and remains fade this Washington secondary. They stink. They stink. And the 3 out of the 4 games they have played, the wide receiver one has gone over their total, and Amari Cooper's total is only at 50 yards. Last time I checked, we'll double check here. We will go to receiving props. Over under receiving yards, Amari Cooper. It's gone up to 53.5. I'm going to take that now because it's only going to get higher. When I said it in our podcast that we recorded this morning, it was at 49.5. So the line's moved 4 yards. Lock that in there. Boom. Now we get into some unfamiliar territory. I'm not sure. Those are 2 bets that I knew I was picking before I started recording this video. So now we have to do a little bit of research. And when we do that, there are a few things I like to look at. Let's dive into... they'll go back to this team stats, see what teams are giving up a lot of passing yards and which teams are playing high passing octane offenses. There's a few things you look at, those 2 statistics. Try to find the matchup. Team allowing a lot of passing yards to a team that passes the ball a lot. Same thing can be applied for rushing. Obviously, that's just common sense. Game script is very important when you're picking games and you're picking player props to throw into your card for an NFL Sunday. This is skewed because they played 5 games, so wipe that out. The Vikings allowing the most passing yards in the NFL makes no sense to me because of how dominant their defense has been. So I would take this with a grain of salt. That being said, Garrett Wilson is due. Garrett Wilson is overdue. He's not getting the target share that everybody thought he would be getting coming into the season. That's mostly because he's played some of the best corners in the NFL through the first 4 weeks. He's played L'Jarius Sneed, Christian Gonzalez, Pat Surtain, and then the Broncos, the Jets were on the field for barely 20 minutes. And when he wasn't on the field, he did look effective. I'm curious what Garrett's target share is. It can't be that high. All right, Garrett Wilson's getting 25% of his team's targets. He's got 34 targets, only 20 catches. That efficiency is due to increase after he's played some of the hardest corners in the NFL. We go to Jets-Vikings. I saw this statistic earlier as well. Let me pull up the TikTok. I hope I saved it. Garrett Wilson has gone over at least 4+ receptions in his last 4 games. He's getting 25% target share. Let's see what his receptions are. And I think this is a game where the Jets are going to have to pass the ball because this Vikings offense has looked very high octane as well. Justin Jefferson and Sam Darnold haven't skipped a beat. Aaron Jones has run the ball efficiently, and teams have ran the ball efficiently against this New York Jets team. So Garrett Wilson's receptions, depending what the line is, could 100% be in play. And it's at 4.5. He's gotten 4+ in his last 4 games. I think he gets 5. It's at -155. Rule number 6. Don't be afraid to lay down the number. If it's a big number, it'll scare you off. It's a big number for a reason. You lay it down every time. Garrett Wilson's getting 6 catches against this Vikings secondary. Lock it in. If any quarterback can digest this complicated Vikings defense that Brian Flores has put out that's been very good through the first 4 weeks, it's the quarterback with 20 years plus of experience in the NFL, and he will be finding Garrett Wilson, who needs to get back on track after a slow start. Lock Garrett in there.
We get money.
Okay. Now, there is a bet that I like a lot, actually, that I've been thinking about. Bet Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals. Something I haven't talked about at all yet is the public. You always hear fade the public this, fade the public that. Fade the public when like 80% of the money, 80%, 75% of the money's on it. But if it's like 50 to 60, that doesn't really tell me enough. That's not enough to scare me off of a bet. And when I first saw this spread, Ravens -2.5, I thought the public is going to be all over this. Now, give me 1 second. Let me pull up my app here, and we can get down to the brass tacks here and see exactly what the public was on. But when I checked this morning, I was shockingly not what I thought it would be, and it was closer to a 50-50 split than I thought. I thought the public would be all over the Ravens -2.5. Lamar Jackson is 8-1. 8-1 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's see here. The public is, so for the spread, 66% of the spread is on Baltimore. 60% of the money that's bet on the line is on Cincinnati, excuse me. So Cincinnati's getting more action at +2.5 than the Ravens are at -2.5. The Bengals have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Now, what am I thinking here? What's going through my brain here? I'm thinking the Ravens run the ball well. The Bengals defense stinks. Is the Bengals defense stink against the pass or against the run? What do? When you have these thoughts, you need to justify them. You need to look into them. You need to see what the brass tacks is. And the brass tacks is, well, you go here to Football Reference. The Bengals are the 9th worst team in the NFL against the run. On 132 carries. So they've been ran on the 5th most in the NFL. Naturally, they're going to allow the most, a lot of yards. Yards per attempt is very important. They're 18th. So the run defense hasn't been as bad as it might look. You know, they've had a lot of volume. So obviously, like the team playing them have had a lot of volume in the run game. So obviously, their rushing total is going to be inflated. But teams are only getting 4.5 yards per carry. That's enough. Like that's not moving me. That's not moving me off of this bet at all. I'm still very confident. Let's see what they're doing against the pass. So this Bengals defense on paper has not been horrible. Like, it's been middle of the pack on paper, if you're just looking at the statistics. I'm not buying it, though. Lamar Jackson, 8-1. 8-1 against the Bengals. I love that the public is on the Bengals spread as well. So give me the Ravens -2.5. Lock it in. I didn't see that many numbers. That much really swayed me when I looked at the numbers, but that's why you look at it. If it doesn't sway you, you go with your gut in the first place. And this isn't an area where you click the X button. This is an area where you put in your unit and you hit place bet.
We get money.
Another bet when I was thinking about this game was Joe Burrow passing yards, because I was listening to part of my take, and Big Cat made a very good point. He made a very, very good point. He said if the Bengals want a chance at being successful, Joe Burrow is going to have to put up some incredible numbers. Let's look at his stats so far through the first 4 weeks, playing from behind in most of his games. Almost 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. I think he has 1 pick. Those are pretty good stats, and this Bengals team's just heating up. They got T. Higgins back a week ago. I expect them to score a lot of points against this Ravens team. But now I'm thinking, divisional opponent, they've seen each other a lot. So what do? We go to good old StatMuse. StatMuse is player prop gold. Player prop gold. If you want to see how a player matches up against a certain team, this is where you go. Joe Burrow, career versus Ravens. Boom. And let's see. This was late. Okay. 70. He had to have gotten hurt that game. I just don't see a world where he only did 77. Yeah, that's crazy. 98 passer rating, 1,800 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in 7 games. He had to have gotten hurt in this game. I feel like that's 100 yards. I don't remember that game at all. That might be an outlier. That's throwing me off. But we're in games where he's thrown at least 35 balls, 222, 215, 217, 525, 416. So he's cooked the Ravens. He has cooked the Ravens. And these Ravens defenses were better. They're without Patrick Queen. I mean, better's a stretch, I guess. But they are on a new DC. And the defense has played better over the past 4 weeks. That's not debatable. They just shut down Josh Allen and the Bills. I think game script will play very well into Joe Burrow's favor. They looked mid against the run. Not as bad as I thought initially when I was going to place this bet. So, what does that tell me? They're not as bad against the run as you think. I still think the Ravens are the best run offense in the NFL, obviously. That's not even debatable. They're going to be playing from behind. I think they're going to pass the ball a lot. Let's see what Joe's total is. If it's low 200s, you absolutely hammer. Below numbers. See, 250, that's too big of a number. I'm not taking it. That's way too big of a number. But on that same note, we will look at Jamar Chase. Career versus the Ravens. 200 yards, 125, 50, 86, 31, 12. What happened in this game? Okay, now I need to see. Okay, Joe Burrow got hurt in this game. Okay, I looked it up. Joe Burrow got hurt in this game where he only had 100 yards. Outlier. Absolute outlier. Otherwise, though, Jamar's getting a lot of catches versus Baltimore team. Joe likes to look at him against his Baltimore team. The yard totals aren't really there except in 2021. I think that's the year they made the Super Bowl. He absolutely cooked them. I remember he had a dirty slant that he took to the crib. So we'll see what his reception total is at. Let's also look at T. Higgins. If his reception total's 6.5 or 5.5, we're taking it. If it's more than that, we're not. Let's see. Receiving props. Jamar Chase over 5.5. Yeah, lock it in.
We get money.
Oh yeah. Jaguars Colts. This is a game, stinker of a game, absolute stinker. I heard also on Part of My Take, shout out to Part of My Take boys. Go listen to that podcast. It's the best football podcast, NFL podcast. Bangers. I heard the Jaguars, or the Colts haven't beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville since 2014. And despite the Jaguars being 0-4, they were up 17-3 in Week 1 against the Dolphins at halftime. The Texans just came back against the Jaguars. Divisional opponent. The Colts have not looked too hot. At all. Jags -3 is a bet I absolutely love this week. Now, I say that simply because the Colts haven't beat the Jaguars at home in 10 years. So, we go over to Pickett. We go to events. And we look at what the public's on. But there is more money on Jacksonville, but it's not enough to sway me. It's not enough. 53% of the spread money is on Jacksonville, 65% of the money line. That's a decent number, but I'm not worried that much. That means Jacksonville's in a lot of parlays. That's what that means. And that scares me a little bit, but this bet is just too good. Now we go over here. We go back to this. Where's Jacksonville suck defensively? And where are the Colts good offensively? Where's Jacksonville good offensively? Where are the Colts suck defensively? Jacksonville has one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL. 1,000 yards, what is that per game? 250 yards a game. That's not very good. But, okay, now we go to team offense. Team offense on Pro Football Reference. Let's see how good the Colts passing offense has been through the first 4 weeks. 21st in the NFL. Not the greatest. And 2 of those touchdowns came by the hands of Joe Flacco. Another thing, rule number 6, check the injury report. Haven't done it yet. That's on me. You need to check your injury reports. Anthony Richardson is questionable. So this is a bet I'm going to hold out on. If Joe Flacco plays, I'm not taking this. If Anthony Richardson plays, I am taking this. Anthony Richardson has looked horrible. Practiced at a limited capacity this week. This is a spot now where you hold off. You leave the bet in the slip. You don't hit the X button yet. You wait till Sunday morning. You get a ruling on A-Rich. The spread might move though. It's going to move. It's going to be volatile. It's volatile markets. They're volatile betting markets. So if the spread moves to something you're too uncomfortable with, then you don't take it. Let's hop over to StatMuse before we close out on this game, and let's take a look at Trevor Lawrence versus the Colts. See how he's played. Not very efficiently. Good amount of touchdowns. Not that many interceptions. Good passer rating. 1,200 yards in 6 games. That's pretty good, you know. I wonder what his record is. He's 4-2 against the Colts, undefeated at home. So this is definitely in play. This is Colts. Jaguars -3 is definitely in play. The Jaguars, and let me just clip farm here. Jaguars -3 is definitely in play if Anthony Richardson plays and not Joe Flacco. The Jaguars have one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL through the first 4 weeks. The Colts have the 21st ranked passing offense in the NFL through the first 4 weeks. 2 touchdowns in that two of those passing touchdowns came at the hands of Joe Flacco. With Anthony Richardson passing the ball for this Colts team, the offense has looked completely different. Trevor Lawrence is 4-2 against the Colts in his career. This -3 is throwing people off. It's meant to scare you. It's meant to bait people into taking the Colts. 50% of the money is on the Jags. 55% of the money is on the Jags. That's not enough to scare you off. You take the Jaguars -3 if Anthony Richardson starts and not Joe Flacco. If Joe Flacco starts, you go over here, you hit that X button, and you move on. Okay, now another bet that I'm highly considering is the under in Dolphins-Patriots. Now, learning opportunity, part number 7. 35.5, Skylar Thompson against one of the worst offenses. I think they might be the worst passing offense in the NFL. Yeah, the Patriots are the worst passing offense in the NFL. They might have scored the least amount of points in the NFL. These two teams have scored the least amount of points in the NFL. So obviously you think unders in play. You look at what the public's on. 81% of the bet is on the under, but only 50% of the money. I don't care about what percentage the bet is on. That doesn't matter. Vegas doesn't care about what percentage of people is betting where. They care about where the money is. The money's pretty 50-50. Take the under. It's under in Patriots-Dolphins. These two teams have scored the least amount of points in the NFL by a fair margin, too. The Patriots scored 52. The next team is the Giants with 60. That's 8. The 8 points. The Dolphins have scored 45 points. Yeah, no. We're taking the under in this game. Absolutely.
We get money.
This is the bet I'm the least confident in so far. So, like, if you have bonuses available, you might as well use them. This bet we're going to go to. These games are gross, man. These games are gross. We'll see what the public's on in Steelers-Cowboys, because I do like the Steelers a lot in that game. The Cowboys are really beat up. Really beat up. Arthur Smith's a better offensive coordinator than people give him credit for. They're just mad if they drafted Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. Any Falcons offensive player the last 3 years when Arthur Smith was there was fantasy irrelevant. That creates the narrative that Arthur Smith's just not a good offensive coordinator. That is so incorrect. Ryan Tannehill was genuinely being talked about in the media like an MVP candidate with Arthur Smith as a head coach. Justin Fields has looked more and more comfortable the longer he's played in the scheme. The Cowboys are beat the fuck up. That defense already stinks. So we'll see where the money's on. The money's on Pittsburgh, so I'm not going to touch that. Packers, Rams. I don't really like anything in this game either. The Rams' run defense is bad, actually. So I'm pretty sure. So let's take a look. We'll go to team defense, rushing yards. The Rams have the second. Okay, but that doesn't say everything. Like we learned earlier with the Cincinnati Bengals, they had the 4th, 5th most rushing attempts against them. Obviously, the yardage is going to be high. But when we took at the yards per attempt against teams against the Bengals, it wasn't that high. For the Rams, though, teams are averaging 5 yards a carry. That is 4th in the NFL. And on top of that, there is a Josh Jacobs stat that I think is worth mentioning. Let me pull it up. Let's see what his total is as well. Josh Jacobs has gotten at least 40 yards in the last 4 games. So if his line's around 50, I'm going to take it. That could be something you throw into a parlay, alternate line parlay. If you want to take Josh's 40-plus rushing yards at minus 800, there's no value in that at all. It's at 66.5. That's not horrible. We're going to take a deep dive really quickly, see what other running backs have done against this Rams team, and we're going to see what Josh Jacobs has done in his past few games. Obviously, with Malik Willis at quarterback, they were running the ball way more. At least the first game Malik Willis started. And then game script last week, the Packers had to get away from the running game because they were playing hero ball, catch-up ball, basically the entire game. Let's take a look at Josh Jacobs' game log to start the season. 84, 150 against the Colts. 43 against the Titans, 51 against the Vikings. Game script wasn't really in his favor. The Titans do have a good defense as well. I think I'm going to lean over Josh Jacobs. Let's take a look real quick at what... Oh, dude, DeAndre Swift just ran all over this Rams team. DeAndre Swift was one of the most inefficient runners in the NFL going into that game. Jordan Mason definitely had a pretty decent day. He had 77 yards on 19 carries. That's pretty efficient, not like crazy. The Cardinals, let's see how James Conner did. 120 yards on 21 carries. The Cardinals were blowing them out though. That's another game script thing. I think this game, I don't think the Rams are going to blow out. I don't think the Rams are going to blow out the Packers. Their defense is too good. The Rams are beat up. Their offense isn't as explosive enough. So talking game script, let's take a look and see how the Packers defense has been against the run, because that's really been the catalyst for this Rams team so far this season without their Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, etc. They are a top 11 run defense in yards. Let's look at yards per attempt. They're 13th. So they're not the greatest against the run, but they're not bad against the run by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't think the Rams offense will be able to get going that well. Let's see how they do against the pass, because obviously Matt Stafford is a pretty solid QB. All right, 22nd against the pass. I mean, I don't think this game's going to be a blowout. I really don't. I think the Packers are the better football team right now. And looking at what other running backs have done against the Packers, and James Conner had 120, Jordan Mason had 77. Who was the other running back? DeAndre Swift last week, one of the most inefficient runners in the NFL, had a good day. So we are hammering Josh Jacobs over 66.5 at minus 125. That will be a single unit play as well. Lock that in. We get money. Okay, now the last and most important rule of this video as we wrap it up, as I sat here looking for something else that I like. I didn't see it. The most important rule, the most important thing you need to take away from episode 1 of Sports Investing 101 with Fire Sports Takes. If you don't like something, don't take it. Don't force bets. This is a tough week. Sometimes Vegas is just going to win, and this is a week where Vegas is going to win. Don't force bets. If you lose, don't chase. Set a limit, and don't go under that limit, although much easier said than done. Trust me, I speak from experience. The key to being a successful gambler, especially with the NFL and sports, is discipline. But let's take a look at my open bets for Sunday. We have Josh Jacobs over 66.5 rushing yards. We have the under 35.5 in Miami Dolphins and New England Patriots. We have over 5.5 Jamar Chase receptions. We have Baltimore Ravens minus 2.5. We have over 4.5 Garrett Wilson receptions. And we have over 53.5 Amari Cooper receiving yards. And then over 22.5 George Pickens longest reception. Don't disregard this loss at the end. That'll do it. If you made it this far, hit the subscribe button, like and share with a friend. Episode 1, Sports Investing 101, Fire Sports Takes. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you listen to the podcast if you want game-by-game breakdown of everything in Week 1, available on Spotify, coming to Apple Music soon, or Apple Podcast soon. Thank you, everybody, for listening or watching.